And so we may recall the Ottoman Empire lasts until the end of World War I. And then so many Muslim countries in the Middle East, around the Mediterranean, were taken over by the French and British. Even the Italians got in on that and ruled these Muslim countries for quite some decades. Personally, if my country had been invaded and conquered, I think I might resent those people myself too. I'm quite sure the Texans in my country would be roiling mad to this day had it happened. So we need to understand the causes of this resentment. The Crusades were devastating, and madness attacks with the Christians engaging in cannibalism and the mass slaughter of really Jews, Christians, and Muslims. So people and cultures never forget these kinds of things. And that brings us, well, to the problematic question of Israel. As we recall, that is a synonym for Yaakov, Jacob, he who struggles with God, Israel. And I just know I'm going to get negative comments about what I'm going to say. The ostensible reason for the existence of Israel is the promise to Abraham that he shall have this land, a bit of land in Canaan, not as big as modern-day Israel, in fact. And it's not just the Holocaust. Zionism, this urge to return to Israel and live as one people in that land for the Jews, begins in the 19th century. And we've got to know the terrible pogroms we saw in Russia, Poland, and the like. The genocide began before the Holocaust, in fact. As famed Palestinian author Elias Shakur put it, well, the Jews of Europe were standing on a burning building. We understand why they jumped, but they landed on us. And we deserve consideration and fair treatment. Of course, a lot of American Christians feel that when the Jews return to Israel, that'll signal the return of Christ himself. So they're very supportive of this Zionist state. And for Muslims, it looks a bit like the return of the Crusaders. Because there's no doubt about it, Israel wouldn't exist if it weren't for the backing of the British and the Americans, among others. And then those Christians with ulterior motives, perhaps. Oddly enough, there were a small percentage of Jewish people already living in Israel, maybe about 1%. And these, along with the Arabs, the Palestinians, remember that term's from the Philistines. This is an ancient conflict, in a way. But even those Jews in the region, I understand, viewed the Zionists as invaders. Oddly enough, the Hasidim, those set aside, pious Jewish people, consider the state of Israel an abomination because, according to Jewish tradition, only the Messiah, the anointed general, if you will, of God, can establish the state of Israel. So for these very devout, shall we say, Jewish people, the Zionist state is an abomination because it was established by humanists. Oftentimes these are even atheist Zionists. For Zionism is a political movement. It is not Judaism itself, even though, of course, it is a movement comprised of Jewish people.